What is up, YouTube? My name's George, Heat Life on Twitter, and I'm joined today with Deem, BL on Twitter. And this is the Biscayne Breakdown, brought to you by the Heat vs. the World Network, a show where we look over the week and all of its events. We've got games to look at, if there's a player movement, any front office activity in terms of trades. And without any further ado, let's get to the breakdown.
Yeah, like my partner said, George, we want to break some things down. Now, George, this past season, we didn't accomplish the goal. The goal was to win the championship. We didn't accomplish that. Like Kyle Lowry said, that was the goal, and it was a failure because we didn't win. Now, speaking of Kyle Lowry, that's the first player I want to get to. That's Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry had a disappointing season, playoffs. Most will say maybe because it was the injury, but Kyle Lowry did miss a lot of time in the regular season with the personal issues he was dealing with. Now, to me, in my opinion, if you're healthy enough to be on the court, you can play. You're healthy. There should be no excuse. Now, Kyle averaged 7 points in the playoffs on a 24% three-point shooting, which was horrible. Many want to know: do you think will Kyle be healthy this year? We seen the shots that Pat threw at him. What are your thoughts on Kyle Lowry on the upcoming season? You think he'll be in shape this season?
Well, I think personally, I know you've been looking at the footage as well on Twitter of him training, him working out, him looking like he's getting into shape. And we know how high this Heat organization values, a good and strong consistency in terms of players' health and development. And they want them to keep them under a certain body fat percentage and keep them in peak physical condition, because the coach does demand a lot from them. Eric Spoelstra likes to demand a lot from the players, and if you're not physically fit or up to par, you're not going to cut it on this roster. What we saw with Kyle Lowry coming in, I feel like in his first season, the concept of Kyle Lowry is so important. Having a point guard that can facilitate with Jimmy on the bench to really keep this offense going. I felt like he struggled a little bit with that at times. And for a player with this much championship pedigree and experience, you would expect a little bit more. Now, I know I'm not oblivious to the facts. He did get injured, did miss some time with personal issues. We don't know how much that affected him. Apparently affected him a lot, as he's been saying. There's been a lot of rumors with him as well. But I feel like a player of his caliber, he can really bounce back and give us something good this year.
Yeah, I think many believe that he was going to help Bam unlock his offensive game, and we obviously didn't see much of that. Now, I personally thought that he was going to not just unlock Bam game, but he was going to unlock the whole offense. He was going to be a better facilitator on offense, which he was. It was times where Jimmy and Bam were out, and Kyle stepped up big for the offense. Now, was he disappointed in the playoffs? Yes, but a couple other players were also horrible in the playoffs, and one of those guys are Tyler Herro, and that's the guy I want to get to with with a lot going on with the contract, the upcoming contract extension that he's eligible to get, and what he said in the offseason, his exit player meeting, where he said he feels though he should be a starter. Where do you think that direction go with Tyler? Do you think he'll get the starting nod, or do you think Vic maybe get the starting nod? And what are your predictions for them two this upcoming season?
Well, between me being I'm a realist, and what I want to happen are two different things. I feel like Tyler Herro being the realistic option, just came off 6 Man of the Year campaign. You got to keep the players happy somehow. He hasn't gotten the extension yet. We can tell he's already pretty unhappy as he is right now without the extension. If you're also not going to give him the starting job, they're going to have massive implications on this team. If he demands a trade, says it makes it known that he doesn't want to be in Miami anymore, doesn't feel respected, or like his development is coming first on the team, he might leave. And that's something we can't afford to have at the moment. That we don't need this sort of player exodus on our hands. Me as a Heat fan, I want Victor Oladipo to be that starter position. I feel like he's ready. I feel like he showed so much in the playoffs, coming back in the timeline that he did, and really giving us something. As Heat fans, we love to see when players come back and players give us something that we expected to give them, what they expected to give us. And with Victor Oladipo, he gives you something that Tyler Herro doesn't, and that's that star mentality where he was once a star. He was once doing all this stuff. He's a good facilitator. He's stretching on the floor is coming to question. I don't think he's the best 3-point shooter, but he's definitely not a bad option.
No, I mean, but if you look over his career, he's pretty okay, especially in the playoffs. I mean, I've seen when he was in Indiana and he took LeBron to game 7 and shot 40% from the 3-point line while averaging 22 points. I mean, me personally, I would rather have Vic as the starter at the 2 over Tyler because I don't want Tyler. Tyler's going to get our hopes high once again. And we've seen how horrible he had been playing in the playoffs. We've seen Vic in the playoffs and we've seen Tyler in the playoffs. And the last 2 years Tyler been in the playoffs were horrible. The year before this in Milwaukee, the Milwaukee series, he averaged 9 points. And this year, he did get hurt in game 6 in Boston, but he averaged only 12 points. He wasn't even the 4th best player on the team in these playoffs. We've seen what happened in what DeLon Wright did to him in the Atlanta series. So me personally, I'm going with Vic. I think Vic should be a starter. Vic, he's an underrated facilitator. He's a great defender. He can attack the rim. I believe if he do work on his 3-point shot, especially his catch and shoot, he'll be more valuable to the offense. I think he'll be more valuable to the team.
I feel like he's a better fit as well with that defensive presence that he brings under Spoelstra as well. Spoelstra loves that. He needs the players to be two-way players. Pat Riley's made it known. If you want to be a starter on this team, you have to be a two-way player. You have to do both things right. And that's fantastic as well. When you look at this front office expects so much of these players, that's great. That's what we need. And talking about two-way players who have just, come off a pretty damn good regular season, Caleb Martin really, really did show up as well. He got rewarded with that contract. We're proud of him. We're happy that he came in and provided so much. But is he playing the 4? Is he going to come in and fill that need? The big question mark. Who's playing the 4? Is it Caleb?
And I don't know. That's a big question mark. But the thing with Caleb is he's very versatile. He's a very versatile player. He can guard the 1 to 3. He's only 6'5". Miami loves to run these 3 guard players, and absolutely I hate it. I'm not a big fan of it. But so far, with this constructed roster, it's looking like Caleb is going to be the starting 4. I mean, you don't want to go into the regular season with Jimmy as the starting 4. Of course, we want to see Jimmy as the 4 in the playoffs, which is fine with me. I would rather see that. But you don't want a 6'5" guy guarding 4s every night within Caleb Martin. I think Caleb Martin, it's going to hurt him offensively this year if he has to play the 4 every night. I just don't see it happen. I don't think he just don't have that much in him to guard 4s every night. And I'm a huge Caleb fan, but I don't want to see him at the 4.
I agree as well. I feel like it's a lot to ask of a player of his size. And unless he goes through a drastic change and shoots up to 6'8" and puts on 40 pounds, I don't feel like he's going to play that spot particularly well. But it's better than playing Jimmy at the 4 with his injury history as well, which is another rumor that's been going around, which is, in my opinion, the wrong move, big time for his longevity. Don't forget, he's still got 2 massive years where he's getting paid a lot of money coming up. And if he's going to be injured for those years, what's the point of paying a player that much money to sit on the bench? It's just not. It's not what we want to see. It's not what we, as Heat fans, want. It's what the front office doesn't want either. They know that this is a need that needs to get filled, and they're trying to do it at the moment.
Yeah, and I believe that's why they're holding on to the Tyler Herro extinction, because they know it can be a trade out there to happen, and you cannot sign Tyler Herro to the contract and move him. And I don't want to see Tyler Herro make $188 million in a Miami Heat uniform.
No one does.
I think it's somewhere else, but not the 5-year $188 million in the Heat uniform. Now, since you did speak on Caleb and the front court, let's talk about our guy Bam. Many expected Bam with the addition of Kyle Lowry, many expected Bam to be, I guess, a 25-point scorer a night. we expected Kyle Lowry to come in here and unlock Bam game on the offensive end, and we didn't really see it. We didn't really see it, but it was times where Kyle did feed Bam the ball, and sometimes Bam kick it back out. What are your true expectations on Bam this season? How do you think? Do you think with Pat saying that he wants to see Bam put up 15 shots a game? Do you see that this season? Because we hear it every year where Bam say he's ready to take them shots and still doesn't.
I feel like Bam is between two minds: the mind of a superstar and the mind of a defensive star. This team really doesn't extenuate that sort of talent into his game. I don't feel like they're not feeding him the ball enough. I don't feel like they're going to give him those open shots. You see him screen for a lot of players a lot. I feel like that's his main focus. That's what the team's pushing towards. And it's not good enough, in my opinion. I feel like they don't believe in him as much as they should. If you want him to develop into that scorer that you're talking about, you need to feed him those shots. You need to treat him like the Bucks treated Giannis earlier on in his career. They saw the potential. They saw that all the physical attributes are there. They just needed to feed him and give him the confidence needed to take that next step into becoming a star.
But do you think it's because the lack of the other talent, the other guy, like it's hard for them other guys to score. So that's maybe why he has to do all those DHOs because Pat said, Tyler should give Bam half his paycheck. Duncan should give Bam half his paycheck because he does so much for them. Do you think it's maybe that's why Bam is not average, is not what Heat fans expect him to be? Because me personally, I think Bam has it in him. I think he has it in him. And I think Spo and Pat and even Bam is ready for it to come out. So that's why we need players like Duncan to rise his game to be more than just a 3-point specialist. Like you can't just depend on Bam to do a million DHOs all game. Like, our offense was pretty stagnant at times last year, and we've seen it in the playoffs. But we also seen in the playoffs Bam explode. We seen him game 7. Like we see flashes of Bam being that go-to scorer, that number one option, the guy who can put up 25 points easy at night. What do you think of that?
I think as well, that's the big reason why Duncan Robinson is no longer the favorable starting, starter that he was earlier in the season. I feel like we've recognized that his game is limited to what Bam can do for him. And he needs to expand his role himself and really take it upon himself to find his own shot. And these players need to as well. He does a lot for Tyler Herro. And that's a big reason why he wasn't starting as well. I feel like he just wasn't the player, like his starting stretches last year, not the season just past season before that, were poor when he started because he couldn't find his own shot. Coming off the bench and becoming involved in the offense and getting himself integrated was easier when he was a sixth man.
Yeah, he's the main ball handler coming off the bench. And it was times where the offense were bad and Tyler came in and he helped elevate the offense.
Yeah.
And him and Bam actually did pretty terrific in the pick and roll at some times. So I expect Bam to take a big leap. Like I said before, I think this is going to be the year that all Heat fans expect of Bam. I think Bam will be on the All NBA team. I think he'll be on one of the 3 teams. I don't know which one, but I believe this is the big leap for Bam. I trust Bam this year, so I think he'll take them extra shots and he'll make them.
It's going to be a great watch all season to see if he's going to finally take that step. Who's going to start at the 2? Who's going to start at the 4? How Kyle Lowry is going to play. These are things that we're going to look at all season long. We're going to break down all season long, every Sunday. It's going to be a great season. I hope you stick with us as well through it. And thank you for watching our first episode.